our Wednesday midweek report. I'm just lining up our cameras here for on our YouTube live channel. We are broadcasting live today, both on Facebook and on YouTube and on WWNN Money Talk Radio, as well as AM 1470, FM 93.5, FM 96.9, and FM 103.9. So we got a great day today, and here we are at the middle of the week, and it's our midweek report, right? And I posed a question on Monday asking everyone, are you 6 months behind like most people, or are you ready for the 6 months ahead? And it's going to be, I think, a real divide. And as I talk to folks, whether it be investors during the day, friends, colleagues, coworkers, people in the same industry, people in other industries, the opinions of where we are, I mean, people are absolutely lost. Many are suffering from all sorts of anxiety. But I will tell you that the competition out there, which hint, hint here, this is where the opportunities are lying right now. The real estate market appears still to be fairly solid. We are looking at the numbers as we speak. In fact, I'm going to go through a couple of the numbers, a couple of the news headlines, and definitely I'm going to share a lot of that with you today. It is certainly a challenge for, I was going to say, everybody out there, and it is particularly a challenge for those of you who are investors. I had a nice conversation this afternoon with a new investor, a regular listener and participant on our Facebook Live page, and here he is practically coaching other investors, bootstrapping himself in the real estate investment world. But what I like about him is he's got a clear focus and determination and motivation, and he's not paralyzed by all of the news. I mean, if you were to look at the headlines today, here it is: Americans face. This is on the New York Times. Americans face new virus limbo as some reopenings are halted. The county where I live now instated they had never even had a mandatory face mask requirement. Now they are requiring it as of yesterday, that all in public places, otherwise you're subject to fines. That tells me that things are getting kind of serious out there in terms of the numbers. The number of testing is way up, so now we know more about where people stand in terms of the infections. On the other hand, luckily, we've got our hands around and we've treated a lot more people. So the number of fatalities is not growing at the same pace or even in proportion to the numbers of positive. And better yet, the number of survivals is increasing. So that tells me that what we have is an improving, strengthening situation. At some point in time, talked to a good friend of mine in the mortgage business today, and his feeling was the same. Is at some point in time we are going to, if not defeat this thing, we're going to control this thing. And if you think about it, I mean, the flu is something that happens every single year. P.S. as a footnote, I am not comparing the same as being the same, but we don't have a cure for the flu. We don't have we have precaution vaccinations to minimize the flu. Personally, not a believer, but it's out there, and so no one panics when it's flu season. You either grunt and bear it and go through the cycle of getting the flu, getting over the flu. And hopefully there'll be a time where maybe this will be reduced to that same level of concern. Never going to be completely gone, but it will no longer likely be a fatal concern for most people. Now, the flu could develop into pneumonia, which could develop into something further. And so that was definitely the case there. But what we're going to focus on, and if you remember, what was the question? Are you 6 months behind? Are you still looking at all of these, sensationalistic headlines, or are you now taking steps to move forward? I told a lot of my clients and anyone that I am working with right now as a mentor, as a coach, I told them that July 1st is going to be, for all intents and purposes, January 1st. And we are now redoing our business plan. Now, I was very excited. If you go and listen to any one of my shows at the last quarter of last year, I was very excited for the year 2020. I imagine a lot of people were very excited, from the graduating class, graduating into a healthy economy. At least that's what they thought last November, December. But rather than scrap the plans, let's modify the plans. Let's stretch ourselves in the new year. Let's push ourselves in the new year. And that's why I started laying the foundation. Yes, I'll keep you up to date on the numbers of what's going on in terms of the marketplace, the coronavirus, all of the, how that, including, the protests, how those were affecting the real estate values. And so far, the answer has been not much. And well, as the economy, and today was a beat up day in the stock market. We were down 710 points, which was we have 700 up points, we have 700 down points. But when I looked at the at all the ticker symbols and everything is red today, I go, oh no, here we go again. And we'll see how long it goes. Usually we have these, these days of tumbling, and then we have these days of rebuilding back up. The last I saw, we still were in the 25 and 26,000 range for the Dow Jones Industrial. I mean, we're doing pretty darn good considering everything that's going on. I mean, we're having basically a civil war on some fronts. We're having a political war on two fronts. We're having a pandemic worldwide, and yet, thank goodness, we're still around. And it's funny, I told you yesterday that I have this routine, right? Get up early, do a bunch of work before everybody else gets up. I do the regular day with contacts and communication, Zoom meetings and everything. I mean, other than the fact that I put almost no miles on my car anymore, it's business as usual in terms of effort. Now I'll tell you, it's more effort even because of what's going on. But at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, we put a stop. I go for a 3-mile bike ride, a 3-mile run, and then spend some time with the family swimming in the pool, and then get ready to prepare for the radio show. It's a regular routine. But as you can see, my house is my office, my house is my gym, my house is my refuge, my recreation, and the radio studio. So what's your position? Are you hunkered down and still working pseudo? I would really like to know, what are you guys out there doing in the listening audience? And I'm going to pose a challenge. This week I'm going to pose a question. Next week I'm going to pose a challenge. And the question remains: are you 6 months behind, or maybe even 6 years behind? Let me go to a couple of interesting numbers. One of the figures that I like to look at. Let's just see here. Let me just finish that entry. Real estate. I look at a certain county, and actually I look at several counties, but what I'm looking at right here is for Broward County. Now that's where Fort Lauderdale, Florida sits. And I just moved off of my page that I had set up again. So let me just pull this back. And in Broward County, Florida, where there are a little bit over 750,000 individual tax ID property numbers. And in fact, back in July 2nd, okay, about a week from today. So we're looking at July 2nd, 2016 to 2020. 2016, just before the elections, 2020, here we are again, right back in the election cycle. In 2016, there were 758,000 tax ID numbers. Today, in the same county, which, and I like talking about Broward because Broward is very much developed out. We have the ocean on the east side. We have the Everglades on the west side. We have a hard border with Palm Beach County on the north side and a hard border with Dade County on the south side. So there's no expanding the county. And we have built literally from corner to corner. Are there some open areas? Yes. Are there vacant lots? Yes. Did the migration start east? All the development started east, went all the way west till they hit the Everglades, and you could get more house, bigger house and everything out west. And then all of a sudden people were going back east again, buying up the original old houses, tearing them down and building them McMansions. And so you've got this sort of reverberating development going back and forth. And believe it or not, we have about 761,000. So another 3,000 new tax ID numbers. Either properties were subdivided and expanded into separate ID numbers, or there's a lot fewer open areas to go by. Of those, back in 2016, 59% of those were owner occupied, 41% were non-owner occupied properties. Today, in the middle of all of that mess storm, keep it a family program, the percentages, we've got a lot more tax IDs, and on a percentage wise, we now have 62% up from 59% owner occupied. So more people are enjoying and living the American dream of ownership. And where we were at 41, we're now down, of course, to 38% non-owner occupied. So there's been definitely a buildup of wealth. I would say that America is a richer, more wealthy, greater net worth country we are 4 years ago. Interesting thing to think about when you go and start to look at, all the news and then push the headlines away. Make your decision on where you are. What kind of an economy are we in? Have we seen growth? What is really the best for this country? Back in 2016, there were 13,000 distressed properties. Today, there are only 6,000 distressed properties in the county. And by the way, so there's more properties, but there's fewer that are distressed. Percentage-wise, we went from almost 2% down to less than 1%. Pre-foreclosed properties back then was 10,600, call it 11,000 versus 6,000 today. Foreclosed properties, there was 2,500, and I got some big headline news for you after the break about foreclosed properties. But today we have 680. We're less than 25% of where we were in 2016. Back then, upside down properties in 2016, there were 68,000 upside down properties. Today, there's 37,000, 50% off. And you got to ask yourself, oh my gosh, with all of this appreciation, there are still people who are upside down. Potential opportunity here, because those are your fragile people. Now, here's the crazy thing also. Back then, properties active for sale, 23,000 for sale, which represented 3% of that market. Today, there are 15,000, which represents only 2% of the market. Now, I'm going to leave you with a little math quiz when we go into the break. It is said, it is commonly accepted that people move approximately once every 7 years. If you do that in a percentage wise, that means about 14% of the population is constantly in flux, getting ready to move, refinance, upsize, downsize, whatever. That means if there's 14% of the properties are in flux any given year because of that turnover, and you see 2% of it is on the MLS, that leaves 12% of the properties either not yet on the MLS or transferring without the MLS. And I submit to you that there is upside down properties, there's 4.9% right now versus before upside down properties was almost 10%, half of the number. But out of that, let's call it 5% of the market is upside down right now. So any break downwards in the marketplace is going to put these people on the brink and over foreclosure. That's why I keep telling you to watch for some key points, and I'm going to talk about those in the break. But only 2% are on the MLS. There's twice as much that are upside down. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, hear a few words from our sponsors. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Lohner. Don't touch that dial because I'll be right back. Full of questions. So, as you can see, my engineer is pushing me along as we went far into the show without the break. So thanks for that, Ken. First of all, I want to say hi. Brian, how are you? Cindy, how are you? Stephanie, how are you? Cheryl, long time no see. How are you? And those are the ones that had said hi. I know there's a bunch more people watching, but unless you say hi, I can't see your names there. For some reason, I used to see everybody on there. Let me see if I press this button here. Your viewers. I see Ronan's there too. And let me go ahead and minimize that. But some real interesting developments. If you start looking at those numbers, and you put that together with some of the news here, it obviously you can't help. Let's see here if I can. And that I'm going to put that in my ear so I'm not talking over it. But I'm watching some very interesting trends. Chris Gilman, long time there. Nice to see you there. We're looking for we're looking for positive opportunities in a negative situation. Let that sink in a little bit, because in the strength of the market, which I honestly hope that we have a stronger and stronger recovery. It is not my concern that we're going to find some good deals. One of our regular listeners shared with me a deal that he's working on in Tennessee, and it looks, in terms of the numbers and all of the KPIs, look real nice. I'm going to probably try to connect him with some money and some investors over there in Memphis, Tennessee. I want to tell you that tomorrow night we got a great guest. I have to remember to talk about that on the show. We got a great guest tomorrow night talking about turning debt into wealth. I have a feeling that we're going to start to see a bigger and bigger sort of divide between those people that are paralyzed and sitting at a standstill versus the relatively few. I will tell you that the real estate market is fairly active on the retail side. A lot of times when I have properties for rent, for sale, I get a lot of investor inquiries. I'm almost not getting investor inquiries, which is quite interesting. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show here about real estate. And we have been talking about the question that I posed on Monday. Are you 6 months behind like most people that I'm talking to? And whether I talk to sellers, whether I talk to buyers, whether I talk to consumers, investors, whether I talk to people in the industry, in the real estate industry, and that's from mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and the lot. And I'm going to tell you that many people are still locked in the conversation about, nothing's happening, nothing's going on. And I am starting to see more and more activity. I've been sharing with you a couple of projects. We just did a rehab project down in Fort Lauderdale, put the property up for rent, and got a very strong response for it. In fact, it's picking up, I'll even tell you. We've got that property probably pretty sewn up under contract right now. And the number of calls is growing, so much so is that now I'm starting to take names and asking them what are they looking for, because I'm going to go find what they want, and I'm going to match them up and do the business. That's what this is all about. And I want more of my listeners to be on track, and that's why I declared July 1st to be New Year's. A lot of the places that are opening, and yes, to that, as of today and this week, and the surge in the positive numbers of infections, I am seeing a lot of sort of retrenchment or slowdown in the pullback. I understand that, and I would always rather err on the side of being conservative, but not to the extent of going backwards. And here's an interesting argument, right? You had a lot of the Western world shut down, literally shut down for 60, 75 days when the whole pandemic originally broke. And there is and probably will be for a long time a debate whether that was the right approach or whether Sweden had the right approach, who took it all in stride. Now their numbers are rising, so are ours, right? So they're virtually in the same place we are without having stopped the school year for their students, without having shut down the businesses and everywhere. So where is the right approach? It's a tough one. I'm going to tell you, it's a very tough one. So what we're doing here is we're coaching all of our clients to get ready. As I mentioned, I pointed out, I think, one very key number. When I started telling you about the number of upside down properties, that was a very, let's just say, not so subtle hint. There are upside down properties in the marketplace that are not hard to identify, about 5% of the marketplace. Nothing like what it was back in 2008, where it was more like 20, and at one point I think we were up to 40% of the marketplace. Right now we're at 5% of the marketplace is upside down right now after all of the recovery, and in what we have is right now a relatively strong market. Let me give you another statistic that I think is relevant for you to know. The median home price over the last 12 months is $275,000 in the area that I was talking to you about today. 4 years ago, it was $206,000. So it's a 25% increase in value. So watch these numbers, and I'm going to have more put up on our website. Unfortunately, we are out of time. This time has flown by so incredibly quickly, and the music's already in my ear. So for more data and specifics, go to our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. Or give me a call, set up a complimentary appointment right there on the website there or on our Facebook Live page. Well, that's it for today on The Real Estate Show. This is Eric Wilner signing off. Until tomorrow, same place, same time. Drive safe and make it a great day. What time does your clock say, Ken? Hey, Ken. Hello, hello. Hello. Are you still there? I think he's AWOL. Let me see here. Let me get out of there since he's not paying attention here. So, wow, that's today just flew by so incredibly fast. But for you guys, I'll finish off by saying that the total number of properties sold, or I'm sorry, for sale is half. It's the properties are more valuable. The inventory is lower. From every measure of the marketplace, there is less, what I should say, weak spots in there. There's fewer foreclosed properties. There are fewer pre-foreclosed properties. Let's see here. Where's pre-foreclosed? Total of pre-foreclosed properties was 6,000 now, and it was pre-foreclosed was 11,000 back in 2016. By every measure, we're in a stronger market right now. But where are the weaknesses? It's in those pre-foreclosures, and finding them and identifying them is the key to finding great deals right now. And pre-foreclosures are easy because pre-foreclosures means that they filed a lis pendens, but they haven't gone to court yet. They haven't gotten the judgment yet. They haven't gone to the auction yet either. Now, a little bit tougher, but there is a method, and we actually know how to obtain that list of the upside down properties. In fact, what's cool is, in all of these, we can kind of gear what the amount of the equity is by estimation, and it's good enough to close enough is good enough in this business, because remember, everything is negotiable, number one, and the second thing is that once we get to the specific properties, then we can make adjustments for the market for that particular area and those things. And I'm going to tell you, watch those upside down properties, because think about it. If they're upside down now in the strength of the market, and let's just say that we have a serious spike in the COVID, and it causes the stock market to react negatively, and therefore the growth is stunted in the economy. Because right now, we're looking at what they call a V-shaped recovery in the marketplace. If that for some reason now goes sideways, then those upside down properties are going to be there's going to be a lot of don't wanters, the motivated sellers that we so much covet and treasure. So I'm telling you right up front exactly what to look for. I gave you the numbers for one specific county. There are, I think there's 67 counties in Florida alone, and there's several thousand counties across the country. So wherever you're listening to us, that might be one area that you want to look at. Another little hint that I'll give you is that interest rates are at an all-time low. And as a result of that, not all of these upside down properties are from back in the Great Recession. Some of these might have been overfinanced recently. And so wouldn't that be an interesting scenario, if you know what I mean? So again, right now, I'm going to tell you that the real estate market is fairly strong. And so we're seeing a lot of resistance from sellers to drop prices. We're seeing strong demand from buyers, and even a very strong demand for renters. So months of inventory, let's see here, months of inventory back then was 6. Now we're down to 5. And I will tell you that I think that it's really more like 4 right now. Average days on the market is 36. That is very low. Average days on the market back then was 124. So look at the speed. That is the velocity of the market. Back then 124, today 36 days on the market. It's getting clearer and clearer what the market is. And remember, a couple of things that I said to watch for. Number one, watch for, oh my gosh, I just remembered what I forgot to tell on the radio show. And I will give you this because you guys are my loyal listeners that stay on the Facebook Live. But this just out, and I'm not going to say that I was afraid of this, but I sort of expected this. But who else has talked about this yet? Where else have you heard it but here in the real estate show? FHA just issued an FHA mortgage alert. FHA directs mortgage services to halt all foreclosure actions until August 31st. So forget June 30th. That was a big pivot day, and then we saw that we already saw the writing on the wall for them to extend it to July 31st. But and I'm not, while I am maybe frustrated by it as an investor, I am for it as a stabilizer, and that's why they're doing that. The government. It's a lot better to stop foreclosing, particularly on these government-backed mortgages. The government is basically eating the interest right now. And when I say eating, I say that's for now, because they'll probably adjust mortgage balances down the road, or maybe that is the next stimulus, or one of the next stimuluses is the forgiveness of the back interest. It's a lot better to do that than to have to provide all the services in order to help people to eat, find shelter, and all of that stuff. And as the government leads the way, remember, the private mortgage companies, the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, those will probably fall in line with FHA, but non-conventional financing is very likely to make up their own rules along the way. And if they can get away with not extending the moratorium, they will. So that's where you'll see some cracks in that armor. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up at this point here. That was a really important one, August 31st. So hunker down, get ready for that. But I'm going to tell you that the deeper we go into the extension, the deeper into the hole many people will go, which means that there will be more people when that extension gets lifted. So once again, be prepared, get prepared. Are you 6 months behind, or are you ready for the 6 months ahead? That's it for today. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye. Going live here, getting ready to go.